This is the Horror Scouts podcast, and we are about to review Malum. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the podcast. Welcome to Horror Scouts. My name is Mike. I am one of your hosts and troop leaders, and I'm joined by your other two hosts and troop leaders. I got Brian on my left.
Hello.
And Nick on my right.
Yo.
And there they are. They're handsome, aren't they?
I couldn't figure out on the fly. Okay, you're right. Like, which way am I looking here to look at you? But yeah, no, I couldn't make it happen that fast.
It's like now that we're always set on the YouTube version, I know what side, at least for the viewer, you guys are on. So anyway, thanks again for joining us. As I just mentioned, our show is now on YouTube. So if you want to watch the video version, you can go to youtube.com/@horrorscouts. Or if you want to listen to the audio only version, we are on your favorite podcast listening service. So check us out there. Just search Horror Scouts. And just a little heads up, all our reviews here at Horror Scouts are full spoilers. So if you don't want anything ruined, go check out the movie, in this case, Malum, and then come back and see what we have to say and if you agree with what we have to say. So before we dive in, anything going on with you guys? Anything horror related recently?
Yeah.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, I know, right?
What?
Buckle up.
They
Brian,
never
I
say
did a
yes.
thing. I know, right? Yeah, we leave you hanging every week. Not this time. Yeah, no, was it two weekends ago now? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the context of when this comes out versus when we did it a few weeks ago. Brian and I took a road trip to Cleveland to go see the band Chimera, and we stopped in Monroeville and went to the Monroeville Mall to pay a visit to a certain museum that specializes in zombie paraphernalia, specifically the night of, day of, dawn of the dead.
So to be specific, Monroeville, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the Monroeville Mall where they actually filmed Dawn of the Dead. It's just a mall now, like standard American mall, but there's a museum dedicated. It's called the Living Dead Museum, so it does cover all three movies, obviously focusing on Dawn, plus a few other things. It was cool. I thought it was a worthwhile stop. It was a little bit out of the way, but it's like we were close enough, kind of had to do it.
Yeah, for sure. When we got there, it was closed, and we're like, motherfucker. Like, it wasn't a horrible detour, but it was, I don't know, 45 minutes or so out of the way.
Yeah.
On what was already a 10-hour drive that day. And we got there and it was closed. We were both just like, God damn. But thankfully it was lunchtime. So we went down to the food court, grabbed ourselves some food. And when we went back up, we were like, let's just check one more time before we leave. And they were open.
Okay,
So,
good.
Apparently the one guy that was running it was getting lunch himself, probably. But it was cool because they had, what you'd expect, a whole bunch of props from the movies, pieces of the actual script and like storyboarding and things like that. But they also had a lot of big boards printed out with trivia and behind the scenes facts and old interviews with Romero, and one whole board specifically about the mall and trivia about the mall itself, which is cool. So you actually got to learn a lot just from reading all this stuff in there. And they had some of the zombies like recreated. Some had actual clothing props. Some were just, like I said, recreations. They did nod to some of other Romero's works, including was it the Father's Day bit in Creepshow? And
they had a thing from the Crazies as well.
Yep.
Part of that wall.
Yep. They had the gas mask and the whole bit about the Crazies. They had the mall, MAUL, of fame in the back, which was a tile wall, and because they have conventions there regularly, so any living actor or actress from any of the movies just comes back. They do a whole big thing. So what this started while Romero was alive, so they have bloody handprints all over the wall, and then they sign under their handprint.
Oh, cool.
And say who they are. So that was pretty neat.
Nice.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know what I was expecting. I was figuring it was going to be like a plaque and then like, you know, one zombie bust in a glass case, like being like, this movie was filmed here. You know, like we went and saw the world's largest cheeseburger too on that trip, and it was a 12-foot reconstruction in the kids' playscape at a McDonald's. Like very much so not a thing you have to go do. And I kind of figured this was going to be on par with that, and it was like it was a legit museum. Like it took us, I don't know, almost an hour to wander through and read all the placards and see everything they had there. Like it was legit.
That's awesome.
And they had 2 rooms so they had one that was in like a whole zombie history, which was cool. They had a timeline going around the wall of all these zombie movies from, you know, obviously Romero stuff and including the later ones like Land of the Dead and such, but the, you know, the Italian zombie movies and this and that. And there was a room for some reason, Nick and I still haven't figured this out, dedicated to the show Mindhunter, sorry. Maybe that's why I couldn't find it. I just Googled it. I got some very disturbing past news from the Monroeville Mall. I'll try that again. Mindhunter. And then the last room was for Evil Dead 2, which I believe, Mike, we sent you some pictures of. They had the side of the shed and pieces of the walls and doors and stuff from inside the actual cabins from the sets of Evil Dead 2. And other like the fireplace and the foam stones that were around it that were like starting to decay a little bit and stuff like that. So that was really neat and obviously unexpected. And of course you could take photos. So there's this ridiculous selfie of Nick and I standing in front of the shed, and
which we should have put on the Horror Scouts page.
We should.
Maybe we'll do that before this goes up.
Hey. There's something I was supposed to share after our last recording too, and I completely forgot what that was.
Yeah. I'm very bad at the social media.
Yeah, you ragged on me last time, and then I forgot, and now we all forgot, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Mike could have posted it too. We did text him a picture.
That is true. Yeah, it's his fault now.
Blame him. He's a social media guy.
But yeah, no, it was a cool stop for sure.
Yeah.
Because you sent me a picture of like the front with the sign on it, and I do have to say their like logo for the place is terrible.
Oh, it's
because
awful.
It's like the 2 D's in Dead are designed to look like eyes. So it just looks like, well, what's the full thing? Like
the thing is a Living Dead museum.
Dead. So it looks like Living EA museum with eyes built into it. I was like, and me being a video game guy, I see EA and I think Electronic Arts, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
It took me a second.
And then it doesn't help, like, museum's the smallest word on it, and then the front of it has some merch. They had some unique merch for the store, like things for the mall that were pretty cool, and some general zombie things. But so from the front, if you're not paying attention, you see Living Dead and you see like T-shirts and some zombie books and stuff in the back. Like you could easily miss that there's an actual museum there if you're not paying attention. So yeah, they could work on that a little bit. But I guess it's if you know, like most casual mall goers aren't going to be like, oh, a zombie museum, you know? Like,
right. Yeah.
But
so follow-up question about the mall. Was this like a thriving mall, or is it like about to be shut down like most malls?
No, it seemed like it was healthy, which is weird because malls are always bleak and empty these days, and like it was bumping. And I mean, it was a Saturday afternoon when we went through. So I mean, and also it was raining. So I mean, it's probably not a fair representation of what it looks like on a Tuesday.
But there weren't we didn't walk the entirety of the mall, but I didn't notice a lot of like closed storefronts or anything like that.
No.
Good for them.
They're the one mall doing it right, apparently.
Yeah, right.
And something else semi-horror related. So the show we went to in Cleveland was for anybody that's a metal fan listening, was the Chimera reunion show celebrating 20 years of Impossibility Reason, and they had merch there. And so the piece of merch I bought was this shirt.
Nice.
So good.
It is so good. And before somebody calls out errors with it, yes, that is the poster for the movie Zombie, but this is actually the tagline for Night of the Living Dead, because it's referencing the band that just won't die. Why I think about it, I have no idea, but that was a must buy. So
for sure. Yeah, that's a cool one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. I don't have anything horror related other than I just threw a bunch of new trailers up on our Discord.
I
Links
really got to
below.
get back into watching those. I was good at it for like 2 weeks, and now and I even put it on my main screen, and it just sits there, like going, "You're ignoring me." Yeah.
Yeah, none of the ones from today were that great, except for Hold Please. I want to get the name right. Horror trailers. Mad Heidi. And it's this like super gory, schlocky
Mm-hmm.
Swiss.
So
like-
I saw the trailer for this a while. I've heard about this for a while because I think, at least for Australia, it's some of the reasons Umbrella Entertainment is releasing the Blu-ray of it, but it's getting like a 1 day in the theater in the US at the end of the month.
Yeah, it says it at the end of the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing that because it looks exactly what I'd want from something like that.
Yeah.
Violence against the mad cheese dictator in Switzerland. Like, fucking
Yeah,
ridiculous.
there's a lot of cheese-based
Weird.
violence,
Yeah.
like hot fondue, and yeah, go check out the
Okay.
trailer. Mad
Yeah.
Heidi.
I'll have to do that. Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got for that. But on to more pressing things, which is our review for this episode of the movie Malum. Malum. I just want to say Malum all the time. If anyone's a fan of The Office, the episode where they're doing like the Southern murder mystery thing in the conference room, and Andy is trying to like do the Southern accents and tell the difference between them. He's like, one of them is more like molasses in your mouth, and I just think of that. I just think of Malum. Anyway, this movie has nothing to do with anything like that. So yeah, let's move on to our review. First bit of information before you even get to like who made this movie and who's in it is that this is a remake / reimagining of director Anthony DiBlasi's 2014 film Last Shift. So he's back at it almost 10 years later to give it another go. We thought we reviewed Last Shift. It turns out we didn't. We just had a few other of our reviews kind of mashed together in our brains. So I suggest
But we did all watch it, which is
yes.
which is surprising.
Right, but didn't the 2014
Because I'm a slacker. So
right, but didn't
Which is
it
weird.
also the movie predate Horror Scouts? In 2014? Like, there's no way we started in 2014.
Oh right, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why we didn't review it. But if I had to guess, I watched it. Probably not even 2014. It's like, hey guys, you should watch this. It was really good, and then
Yeah.
that happened.
Yeah, because I know we were texting about this like yesterday or something, and I think for me, I was getting it confused with
Baskin.
Baskin because there's
Baskin.
cops in that one and like weird satanic shit happening in the basement there.
yep.
But the question you posed was, what's that movie with like naked satanic rituals in the basement? To which Nick had the wittiest reply. I was laughing out loud. But
Said it was my basement.
yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
And I was like, I want to say like that narrows it down, but we got to Baskin faster than I thought we would have.
Yeah.
And then you thought it was Let Us Pray,
Correct.
which also
Which again, Satanist shit happening in a
police station.
police precinct,
Yeah.
you know, with somebody locked in a prison cell. So
Yeah.
there's definitely a similarity there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and we were discussing right before, so we know that Brian kindly rewatched Last Shift today or yesterday. So he's going to be our reference for that. But so we've seen the old one. I don't remember much about it, but anyway, we did not review it. So back on track. We are reviewing Malum this time, the remake. This one is written and directed again by Anthony DiBlasi. Also, it was helped. Writing duties were also done by Scott Poyley. And our main cast is Jessica Sula as our main character, Jessica. We've got Candace Koch as Diane, Jessica's mother. Got Eric Olson, who plays Will, her dad. And we've got Cheney Morrow, who plays John Malum. And the synopsis is a rookie police officer takes the last shift at a newly decommissioned station in an attempt to uncover the mysterious connection between her father's death and a vicious cult. Throughout the night, she finds herself barraged by terrifying supernatural events while unveiling the truth behind her family's twisted past. So, first order of business here at Horror Scouts, yay, nay, or just okay?
It's okay.
I like this one. This is a yay for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with yay as well. I think it was fun.
Y'all need to go rewatch Last Shift.
Okay.
This is probably the most exciting part of the conversation I have is to really get that comparison and see if he elevated it or just completely lost.
Well, and it's a matter of perspective. So there's things that got elevated and things that got lost,
Okay.
for sure. The reason I was giving you that tilted head look, Nick, well, I'm looking at Nick in my screen when you said yay, was the lore and the point, the story, the cult, all of that. That was all of that was okay with you?
Well, I mean, it didn't make sense in the first one either. So,
Well, so all right. So it didn't. But here's one of my big problems with the movie. I will say I did enjoy it, especially the second half of this movie as I was watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometime when it was done, I was like, okay, the first half of the movie I was so on, and then I started thinking about it more, and I was like, I don't know. And then rewatching the first one made it seem more problematic. So in Last Shift, the focus is more on Jessica. And so she goes to it hits even a lot of the same quotes, a lot of the same beats, obviously. So she's watching the station, weird things start happening, she's hearing things, seeing things, blah, blah, blah. But if you find out it's because they stopped this cult, this satanic cult, and that they were the Paymon? Yes, the Paymon family, not Malum. And they hung themselves in the station, and they're haunting it. But that's where that ends. So they just it's haunted. It's a year anniversary after all that happened. So Jessica is being haunted, and they're making her do evil things and see things. And spoiler for the end of that movie, it ends with her killing these three biohazard guys that were supposed to come clean out stuff in the station, who she's seeing as cult members. And she gets shot by Sergeant Cohen, who comes in. And then that's when she sees what happens. The biggest difference is she's not part of some bigger plot. She's just being fucked with and ends up getting killed in the name of Paymon. Mm-hmm. So in here, they add the whole... So her father was killed in the raid at the Paymon Ranch in the first one. That's the backstory with the father. Okay. So obviously here they have the whole thing where he was possessed and he killed the people in the station, or he snapped and nobody knows what happened. And so that feeds into it. And she's now part of this bigger plan for the Malum cult, and they're going to bring back something to do something. And none of that is explained. Like, what are they bringing back? What's happening? How is she part of it? And then when she becomes part of it and ultimately kills herself, it seems to be the goal. The movie's over. And you don't see what happens. Like, oh, she's dead. The thing happened. It's like, oh, what the fuck happened? And so you don't know. I guess they're trying to leave it vague. It's supposed to be a creepy cult thing. But here they focus more on the cult and what's supposed to be happening here and this big thing. And, because there's also the real cult members that are attacking might be a strong word, but doing things on the new police station, right? So there's real people involved here in this one. In the first one, there are no real people involved in it. It's all just ghost shit.
True ghost story.
Yeah, I guess the flip way of looking at that, because I do not disagree with anything you're saying, is that the first one leaves you to just believe ghosts are real, period. This one is ghosts are real because they've been summoned by a cult, and for once a cult is legit, and the thing they worship, the sacrifices they make, the rituals they believe in and perform come to fruition. And the people besieging one, the people enacting the purge are doing one thing that's scary, and then also there's demonic presences because of the people doing the thing that made it happen. So like the end of it is ambiguous as to like what that goal is, but at the same time it's like, oh shit, it's not just in her head, it's not just ghosts fucking with her, it's somebody's will has been imposed upon her. I don't know if that's better or worse.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of looking
Right.
at it.
I mean, there is some of that in the first one, but yeah, I can see that.
I liked that aspect of it, but I did miss the her killing the hazmat guys at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was a good twist that I thought was lacking from this one.
Yeah, this they just kind of replaced it with her shooting her mother.
Right. In the first one, her mother, she's just on the cell phone with a couple of times because her mom's concerned about her because her father died in the line of duty, not because. Right. So they added, this backstory and the intricacy of her father's involvement and her mother's connection, and then obviously the scale of the cult is bigger here. For me, I'm not sure I cared for it all, and not that it was necessarily bad. I just felt like it convoluted the story way more than it needed to.
That is the right word for it. Like, from a lore perspective, they did a decent job of giving you more story to explain the cult and explain the supernatural stuff happening, but they almost just bit off more than they could fit in this movie. That it fleshed out the world, but left so many loose ends and straws for you to be chasing and being like, but wait, I still don't understand. Like, You tried to give me more, but I don't get any of it. Like, it's somewhere in between there.
Yeah, and it's also a little tough because there's so much like she's seeing things and you're not sure if it's real or not, because at least what I took from throughout the movie was like they needed her. So okay, we'll back up. 4 girls went missing a year prior. One of them got killed, but the other 3 were saved by Will, Jessica's dad. And now it's a year later, and those 3 girls have been recaptured by the cult. Presumably it's a year later, we're going to try again. And it's to summon what they call the low god. I think that's the only name they ever gave it. And also now for some reason, I don't know, maybe you need 4 people. And so Jessica's number 4 now, and because she's tied to the cult in a way that she didn't know. But what I'm getting at is that like all of this was to summon the low god. Yet before Jessica dies, we see the low god. It shows up. But was she just seeing things, or were they actually in the basement with the demon?
Right.
Because then it's like, okay, they did what they were trying to do, and we saw the low god. Or, like Brian said, movie ends, and it's like, we don't know if they actually...
But did they retake those girls, or were they not real, or were they the ones killed in the cell that night that are haunting him, and she's now the 4th one?
I mean, the cop on the phone with her, who turns out not to be a cop, mentioned that the 3 girls had been abducted again.
Right. So, yeah.
So, like, did she ever have a conversation with the other precinct?
Yeah. So that pissed me off the whole time because, again, that was a big change for the first movie. Not that he's not allowed to change it, but, like, you find out it's all, like, literally all of the phone conversations bullshit. In the first one, it's not bullshit. She's talking to an actual cop there. She's also getting fake calls from the beyond. but like that's not it. They don't shoot to the phone cord being cut there, that type of thing. Also, and I'm going to point out a few more of these, she never questions why she's getting the phone calls. They make a point of the sergeant or captain or whoever the fuck it was in the beginning of Malum saying the calls are being rerouted to the new station, so you should have a quiet night. Yet she keeps getting these calls and calls the new station and never asks, why am I getting these calls? However, in Last Shift, they specifically say the 911 calls are being rerouted to the new station. And so when she gets the calls, she does call the precinct and ask, like she says, why am I getting these? She's like, well, because they're not calling 911. They must be calling the station directly. Like they explain that very clearly. Yeah. And she's smart enough to question it, which there's a few things of her lack of questioning that I had with Jessica and Malum. That's one of them.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
The other is, I thought this was a bad start. Why is she at the station? If you're watching this not having seen Last Shift, she's told the station's being decommissioned. So, last night here we have the new station up and running. Why is she there? Why is the station not closed? Why is not every cop at the new station?
Yeah, because she says that her reason for being there is she wanted to spend a shift at where her father worked.
Right. But why did they need someone on shift there? Like, why is it not just locked up, shut down? They're knocking it down.
She's literally the only person. There's no prisoners. They've theoretically rerouted the phones already.
Yeah.
There's no...
Yeah, why is this night the last night?
In Last Shift, they spent an entire scene explaining while she's there. And it's because of the biohazard materials, which include drugs and things that need to be watched because the hazmat team is coming in that night to clear it out. That's why she has to be there. And it becomes a plot point in the movie, as we just discussed.
Right.
And that station is pristine. So, which I kind of like that vibe. It was, daylight, white lights, white walls. It gave a very sharp contrast to what was going on, where here they kept the decrepit. There's the black mold in the holding cell area. Like nobody should be in this. It should be condemned, which I get it. They're going for that different creepy vibe, but it's also the same vibe in every building being decommissioned someplace you shouldn't be type place.
Yep.
Yeah. And also the scene where the other cop goes and he's like, I want to show you something. And like, what a dick. It's like, oh, I want to show you the shotgun your father killed himself with.
And everyone else,
Yeah.
Which also had how many rounds still left in it?
Yeah.
That was my number one issue with this movie. It was like, she just unlocked fucking infinite ammo in a gun she found in a corner. Come on now.
Before we get to that, pump the brakes.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I had a problem with bullet count also. When he did that and he showed her and he's like, don't touch it. And he says, no, this stays here. This is, I forget exactly what he said, but it was this allusion to like the building's going to get demolished in its current state.
And they want it ruined with it. Yeah.
Right. But I don't know. I guess I didn't really think too much about it. Like, yeah, I guess there really wasn't anything in there that they still hadn't taken out.
Except for a random shotgun, apparently.
Yeah.
And apparently some evidence boxes, because that's...
Right.
Or some evidence, because that's what the homeless guy came in to find, was his daughter's bloody shoe, which he was holding, if I remember correctly, in an evidence bag.
Yeah.
Like, I know this was a horrific crime that happened in the station, but you kind of got to save that shit. Like, especially a year later. So why is that still there?
Yeah.
They had valuable workout gear in the gym that you could take with you.
That basketball shouldn't have been there.
I was just about to say.
I'm so glad that basketball didn't roll out of the dark and hit her in the feet. Otherwise, I would have turned the movie off.
Yeah.
But anyway, if we want to talk about bullets now, feel free.
That's it.
She was
They're
free
just
with
infinite.
them.
Yeah,
I mean, she did change a clip one time in the pistol.
Took
I
way
was
too long to
about-
get there, though.
Right before she changed it, I was about to rewind the movie and start counting bullets because I was like, she has to, and she changed. It. Like, okay, I wasn't counting. It seemed like a lot, but maybe it's fine.
Yeah.
It's like if John Wick can do it, other movies can do it. Come on.
But he reloads
Yeah.
and takes other
Yep,
people's
no,
guns.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I
If
just
the
think,
movie with the most gunfire can be accurate with magazines, so can everyone else.
I always just think about Deadpool. Like the opening scene, Deadpool goes, "Somebody's not counting."
yeah.
And now start numbering his bullets. Like, yeah, that's a standard now.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I think part of the reason why I did enjoy the movie is because I liked Jessica Sula as Jessica. Like, I don't remember how well the other actress did as Jessica in Last Shift.
I mean, I thought she was good, but
Okay.
also I can't go by me alone, but I thought she was fine. I mean, I thought Jessica Sula did a good job. I didn't think she was, I'm not going to give her a badge for it, a merit badge for it, but I thought she was,
Police badge.
I thought she was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the homeless guy. He felt intimidating, and like I wouldn't want to be around when this guy was losing his marbles.
No. Epic beard too.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got like a Sons of Anarchy vibe to him. So, speaking of him, real quick. This is a scene that I had a problem with, was when they get stuck in the holding cell. Apparently stuck in the holding cell together. And then like she drops the flashlight, and then presumably this guy's shining the light at her, and she's like, "Sir, put the light down." And then she gets it back or whatever, and then shines it at him in the corner, and he's still just like fucked up and like crying or something. So someone else is in there, which is great. But then she's trying to get out and can't get out. And then they do the jump scare with the 3 bodies falling from the ceiling, which is good. It's in the trailer. So.
I jumped. So,
but then when that happens, she turns around, the door's open.
yeah,
Like, you could see things fine, but see a closed door and have it actually keep you in a room? I thought that was a little weird.
well, who said it was? She was seeing it. They closed it on her, right? So they could open it.
But like, yeah, that at that point in the movie, like, were all those other people in the building?
Were there ever people in the building? I have no fucking clue.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a problem. Like, the editing for I did know, I feel like a lot of the editing going back and forth to some hallucinations, there were a few scenes in particular that were like really good. I noted somewhere, I have to find my notes. But, and there's real people involved, as we discussed, but like, it's so unclear if there's real people in the building, and it's bolstered by, the ending scenes where, she does kill herself and they're clapping and being all creepy, and then they're not there, and then they're there. It's like, okay, are there real people or not? Is anything besides the homeless guy like a real person? And he fucking pissed into the door, so we know he's real because she went and mopped it up. Like, that didn't disappear on its own.
Yeah. And the pig was real because she touched it.
And the pig. Yeah, that was a weird add-in. So in the movie, they reference when she's on the farm, on the phone with Monica or whatever the girl's name was, who you find out it's been dead for a year. She's trying to get a location. She's like, "Do you hear anything? Do you see anything?" She hears pigs. That's it. That's the reference to pigs in that movie. So why they brought in, I know that apparently these people don't like cops, and they're making piggy jokes, but like,
yeah. Well, there was the scene, the flashback to when Jessica was a baby, and they were like, he was like baptizing her with blood. They were clearly on a farm in a barn setting.
But they did show the pigs, and the pig did get a snack, which was pretty cool. Special effects. Shoot off the homeless guy's foot.
Yeah.
He's walking on the stump.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was in like the newspaper clippings too in the beginning when she like found information about what happened at the cult farm. It said, they fed their victims to the pigs and whatnot. Like, we got that information before the pig came on screen. So we knew it was, obviously it had the fucking symbol painted in blood on its back, you know it's from the cult.
Yeah.
But like we had seen newspaper clippings showing that they were part of that.
Into that, like you said, we saw they like do a shot down on the back of the pig. We see that, right? Then she finally sees a picture of the symbol from like the crime scene photos, I guess. And then she pulls out her phone to look at it, like the back of the picture she took at the back of the pig. Like, you really had to double check that. You couldn't like, how?
Yeah, that's lowest common denominator viewer in case they couldn't figure it out.
Well, I was like, how far away are
they? Shot that the studio gave him notes to put in. Like, you got to make sure you connect that so the viewers get it.
Yeah, there were a few of those cheap seat shots and explanations here. It's like, come on, man. It's not.
Yeah,
I did like. I guess it was right near the beginning of the movie when she's driving to the station and like that symbol is like on a street sign and on the side of a building, and just like some of them are more blatant than others. So it's like, this is a problem in this city.
What I had a problem with from the beginning, that same scene, she arrives to the police station driving a cop car. It's her first day. She doesn't have a cop car at home. She's going to the precinct.
True.
I didn't even
absolutely not.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
And even like that she clearly, she gives this air of like she was a very good student at the academy, and like the whole time she's trying to remember her she's re-saying a passage from the handbook and all that. But she's driving around and she gets distracted and almost hits those two people. And they're like, watch where you're going, piggy. And then they like throw a freaking heart or something.
No, it's a fetal pig head.
It's a fetal pig head.
Right. The pig head at the windshield. And I'm like, and then she gets out and cops have rubber gloves in their car and on their person for a reason, and she just kind of just picks it up like, ew, what's this, and like tosses it and like wipes it on her shirt. And I'm like, I wasn't
even thinking about the gloves. I was thinking about, really, cop, you're just going to leave the fetal pig head like on the side of the road here? Not, you must have a bag in there, an evidence bag, something you can chuck it in. Like, I don't know. I know you're in front of the other station, but like, I was at this point. You might have just done that.
Yep. That's what I would have done. Oh, there's a gross thing on my windshield. Let me just stay right in my car here.
I did like that they had the other, like the news station, dealing with a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Even though it wouldn't have mattered, they wouldn't, like, because we think she's calling and asking for help. And they're like, well, we're too busy, just hang tight. But she's not talking to anybody anyway. So
unless somebody else was in the old precinct and cut the phone line at some point in time, she could have talked to another cop at some point. We don't know.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, that would have actually made even more sense had they shown the phone cord intact at one point, so we knew she was talking to a cop, and then all of a sudden the phone cord is not intact.
Yeah, I'm trying to go back to the conversation with her mother, because the mom obviously comes to the precinct and she ends up killing her at the end. But when the mom gets to that precinct, she asks, like, why are you here? What are you doing at this precinct? But she's already talked to her mom. Was it on her cell phone?
I think it was her cell phone.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was on the cell phone.
All right, I'm trying to find some sort of like shred of evidence that she talked to an actual human being on that phone at some point in time. And
it's not there.
And I mean, maybe she did, but they were, because clearly, like, if they were actually there, like a bunch, like two of the people that were clapping at the end in that weird sped up, strange choice of editing was cops. Was like the two cops that were around when her dad killed
Price
everybody.
and Hudson.
Yeah. So
because they were dead the whole time.
Yeah.
So in the first, in the original, in Last Shift, there is no Hudson, which was the heavy guy. There was Price, and he comes to the station to check on her because he was with her dad when they made the raid and Dad got killed. And he explains, we saved 4 girls, but they killed 6 more and 2 cops, including your father. Then he turns to walk away, and you see a giant hole in the back of his head.
Mm.
So, like, they tell you right off the bat, you're seeing things. This, they did it a lot more subtly, and there was a lot more time spent with the 2 of them before they kind of told you what was up. But yeah,
that was really good though. When he leaned to put the gun away, and when he came back, his face was just an exploded, nasty mess.
Yeah.
Like that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was really good.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about some of the visuals here. There was only like one that I thought was a little goofy and undercooked, but like,
which one was
Yeah,
that?
that was the one where the face was like kind of like, again, blown up, but like elongated kind of at a weird angle, and the girl was like chasing her, like kind of crawling on the ground.
that was the one that
bit.
got her face beat in with the bat.
Yeah,
That's who she was supposed to be. Yeah,
it was like a cool sculpture or whatever, but like they didn't put enough like goop on it or something for the camera. It's
right.
It just seemed like they had to rush out of the makeup tent or something, and it should have been wetter.
It looked good for a second, but that was the one they used the most.
Right.
Like that scene of her being chased lasted a lot longer than like the quick jump scare effect of like every other character. So that one needed to have a little bit more stink put on it.
Yeah, just a little bit of blood, a little bit of KY, and it would have been fine. Like that's all it needed.
Yeah, it just seemed like I don't know, something got rushed or whatever, but because the sculpt was cool and there was like teeth in there and shit. I really love just the like the bags over the head, because like it's not a burlap sack, it's not a plastic bag, like it was like
a pillowcase
almost. Yeah, but it also looked like thicker, and it was shiny and smooth. It was this weird, like some sort of like tarp, or I don't know, but it was because I couldn't pin down exactly what it was, and made it creepier. And you got like the sharp teeth sticking through, and just the eye, and the it wasn't just red from blood. It was like greens, and it had this like bruise color palette. It was really cool, and they did it on a few people. So,
and
then,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going back to the first kill when they're in the shooting range, and all of a sudden on camera, the person's head just explodes.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck just happened? That was so good.
Between the very cold open of the movie being just the footage that we see later of the cult, but silent and like creepy and flashlight based, and like you don't really know what's going on yet. Like it set a very eerie, like slow burn feeling tone to it of like a weird culty movie. And then 2 minutes later, you get someone's head being blown off with a shotgun completely out of left field. And I was like, oh, fuck. I don't know what I'm in for this movie. Like that was really good. To, set the pacing expectation one way and then completely flip the script immediately. I was hooked at that point.
Yeah. That was a nice little editing trick too, because it started with the footage, and it was very grainy and grindhousey and everything. And all of a sudden then it just cuts to Will's face, like the night that everything went wrong in the precinct, and it's just modern, clear HD blue hues. Like that was a cool cut. Yeah. Let's talk about the Low God. What did you think of it?
Yeah,
it's unique.
I really liked it, but it was funny. I was reading through Letterboxd reviews after this, which were extremely mixed. There's a lot of hate for this movie, but there specifically too. There's a lot of people, a lot of the haters, if you will, did not care for that demon design. And I was like, I can see why not. I liked it. I thought it was definitely unique, especially that the front could come off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go on to her. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah.
obviously very Hellraiser influenced. I think probably more so the design of the newer, like the recent
Hmm.
remake, with like the ring of like it seemed like bone or something, and then
Yeah.
the pieces of the face stretched out to attach it. The pieces, I don't know, maybe they could have designed it to look a little more stretched or whatever, because it kind of did look like flower petals a little bit, but just like that crazy stare and the teeth and everything,
Hmm.
it was
Yeah.
unsettling because it was so unexpected and
And
unique.
the creature was big too, at least
Yeah.
comparative to Jessica,
Huge.
was
Yeah.
huge beast. Yeah, I feel like I did like the demon. I feel like the face was a little too much of a glossy white, like glossy paleness.
Mm.
Like it needed a couple extra cuts or darker tones in it, so it didn't seem so shiny and
Hmm.
new. Um, but that's my only like minor critique of that.
Hmm.
I thought it was very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I liked that design a lot.
in that same scene, the little like throne that John Malum
Hmm.
is sitting on was very cool, because that was back down in the shooting range, right? I think.
Or the basement
I
or
think it was the
something.
basement. Because she
Okay.
went to the shooting range separately, where the things were coming at her, and then
Yeah.
she turned around and there's one of the bag people.
Right, right. But yeah, that was cool to just see this like makeshift
Yeah,
throne made of like farm tools and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And then after that, the one they put her in, which was even more makeshift from just like shit that was in the station,
right.
like his little like queen sitting next to him. That was cool design. I like that.
Yeah. I think the best death might have been the decapitation by hanging,
Mm.
Oh yeah.
which is
That had some like straight up like 80s gore effect there of like the eyeball popping out,
yeah, that
cutting off the fingers with the rope. Like, yeah.
and
Yeah.
then there's the overly apparent. I'm going to stand there with a bucket of blood and pour it on Jessica.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But
But
that
effective.
oh, it was
Yeah.
very effective. Absolutely,
Yeah.
that wasn't a criticism. But yeah, the fact that they could keep showing it tightening and tightening, the fingers curling off, and then just show the eye pop out in the face like a balloon, just like
Yeah.
getting bigger. That was really well done.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
it's clearly where a bunch of this budget went was to effects. I mean, there
Yeah.
was nothing bad in the effects in Last Shift, and even the bags over the heads were well done. They were a little simpler. They didn't have all the different color tones to it, but they still had the mouths open and with the blood coming out and whatever. So it was effective for what it was, but this is definitely scaled up a whole bunch.
Mhm. Was the three people hanging jump scare in Last Shift also?
You think I'd know this? I believe so. It wasn't as effective though. I can say that much.
Okay.
But it was there.
Cool. Yeah. And then
G-
you mentioned it earlier, the homeless guy getting his leg chewed off, and it's just like walking on the bone
Walking on
stump.
the stump.
so good.
Ooh.
Oh, gnarly.
It's like he walks in there and the pig's there. Like, all right, some shit is going down. You hear the pig snarling, but they don't show anything. And all of a sudden, it's like dump, dump, dump.
Yeah.
Like walking down the hall. Yeah, that was really good.
Even the subtle stuff, like one of the cult girls, when she's holding the gun to the other girl's head in the gym or something, and just like she's got like a messed up eye,
Mhm.
like it had been burned or stabbed previously or whatever.
Mhm.
It looked good. It was cool.
Well, also in the found footage or the evidence, whatever, where they beat the girl's head in with the bat, so she doesn't look so much like people anymore, and then they show it.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty gnarly.
Yeah. I love that line too. Like she doesn't look like people anymore. It's so much
Yeah.
more creepy when you say it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was definitely some of the best stuff of this movie. And like I said, I thought the beginning, Nick you were mentioning like setting the tone of the movie. I thought the first, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe it was almost a little too slow. They did a little too much of the I hear something, and we're following her around. And a lot of that was in the original, but the pacing was tighter. You weren't lingering on each piece quite as long. I felt like I didn't there should have been a bigger sense of dread and creepiness, and I wasn't getting it. It just wasn't moving at the right pace for me. I feel like Last Shift was more taut, the whole thing, because you skip the whole opening thing. It shows up. It starts with like her in the car trying to get her mom off the phone. She has to go into the station. She's there already. And then she walks into the sergeant, banging on shit. He's not playing with a basketball, but he's yelling and banging on shit. And then it goes from there, and it again hits a lot of the same beats, just faster paced, but keeping that tension and eeriness of what's going on without lingering too much on any one thing she's investigating. You also don't have the story either, and I think that's a little bit different. Like, they don't tell you you don't know anything about a cult or anything there until partway through the movie, when they slowly start revealing this stuff through conversations and stuff. For instance, Marigold in this one, who's the prostitute, she also, same woman also played Marigold in Last Shift.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Had a bit of a different interaction, but she again explained the same story, that she was there in the next cell the same night, blah blah blah. And that's the first time we're all hearing about it, because we don't know there was some event there, because the event was different. Again, there wasn't the shooting and blah blah blah. So I think that slow reveal gave a different vibe to Last Shift, because you're in this mystery with her, as opposed to here's a whole bunch of shit that happened and now things are going to go haywire. Also, we're going to piece together more story, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
So would you say overall you prefer Last Shift to Malum?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And again, the hallucinations too, like I know we talked about this a bit, but there's like too much here. And in the original, they're there, but I feel like there's actually a little more for the viewer than there is for Jessica. And again, sticking with the original Jessica, she questions it at some point. So she's in a like an interrogation room with, I think this is a real person, I believe, a real cult member that got in there, I think. She shoots herself because she wanted to join the other two girls that died that night a year ago. She's supposed to be one of them. But in there, Jessica's saying, no, you're not real. You're not real. And she's kind of questioning herself because she's getting the gun waved in her face, but at least she's asking the question. She knows shit is weird. She's not just like, okay, there's a lot of things happening here. I mean, to be fair to Malum, Jessica, there's a lot of things happening there.
Right.
Yeah. Excuse me. How did you guys feel about seeing those, I guess technically flashback, the interrogation stuff, and including John Malum and like his ramblings in the interrogation room, and then the whole Will like seeing something in the window, and then she finds the other angle and sees that it's the low god in the reflection, which was very cool. They did a good job at that. But yeah,
I was fine with that.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it helped advance the plot a little bit and give you a little flavor for this semi-charismatic cult leader.
Yeah, he was cool. I like the character. It had that which, I mean, it had that 70s vibe, which is like, you just kind of like, oh yeah, that's what a cult leader's like. It's very Manson or whatever, but then you forget that it's supposed to be happening now.
Right. Yeah. And again, they did something similar in Last Shift where she's standing in a room, there's 3 TVs in the corners, and it's playing one of each of the interviews. It just kind of comes on and happens, and she watches them all, and you get the snippets of information, and then I think something comes at her and it stops. But again, I don't know if we needed the whole. I didn't mind the interview thing, and I did like seeing the low god there. I thought that was very clever, but I didn't know if we needed the whole drug-fueled camera, like spinning around the room. Everybody's, we're crazy, like type of edit there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that added anything. Like, we're already hallucinatory enough. There's enough weird shit going on. I get it.
Yeah, it's like it could have been just him. The other two girls, it was like, I'm getting Sherry Moon zombie vibes from this for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think of it at the time, but yeah, they're,
Mm-hmm.
they're very Sherry Moon zombie vibes.
I did, surprise, I did not take notes this time, so I don't have I can't pick up on any little things that we missed. Just trying to think about other things that stood out, or what's the stuff we normally forget until we get to badges? Music. I didn't really take notice.
Music.
It was fine. I actually just listened to the soundtrack while recording. I think it was adequate. It didn't stand out to me. I thought the sound design was okay. It used the space pretty decently, but nothing, again, stand out. I thought the cinematography was very good, especially in some of the shots outside the station. I mean, sure, they were basic, but they were very intentional with the color palettes and the angles they were shooting at and what they were trying to accomplish. I thought the whole movie looked very nice.
Yeah,
even across all the different locations. I'm trying to think of my notes. If I had anything, I had a couple of nitpicky things. Some of it, so it was like writing, like the bolt cutters in the lock. I've never tried bolt cutters before. You're going to tell me that thing couldn't crack the lock? She had to fucking shoot it?
That was my biggest fault with this movie. Was that
That's saying something.
Was that fucking police issue grade bolt cutters can't cut through a master lock on a locker. Come on. But back up further than that. It's a condemned building. Why the fuck is there a lock on an empty locker? When she opens it up and it's empty, why would you put a lock back on that locker?
Because it was his locker.
Who gives a shit? It's empty now in theory, except for it wasn't. But she didn't know that when she opened it, when she had this fixation on finding it out. Also, we're going to keep going down that rabbit hole. It's the first time she's been in this police station before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't know. They don't say. I guess maybe she could have visited her dad at work, but I don't know they've let you back in the locker room. What are the odds that she knows her dad's locker number? It wasn't labeled. It did not say. It was just number 17.
Yeah, and she was reading them like she knew she was looking for 17.
Right. Yeah, why?
It's funny because in the first one, it's locker 25, and she also knows it.
Right.
Yeah.
My bigger issue than the bolt cutters not working and then beating it with a fire extinguisher and having that also not work, which, I mean, it shouldn't if the bolt cutters didn't, is her then deciding, yeah, it's a good idea to shoot this lock. I'm going to stand 1.5 feet away and discharge my firearm 45 minutes into my first shift as a rookie cop. They've already established her as a by the book, knows her shit, did good at the academy sort of cop. You have to account for every bullet fired as an officer. She's not going to be well, let me write this one in the report. Wanted to see inside locker. Come on. No way.
She already clearly
Absolutely
stole a squad car to get to work. So.
Right. Yeah. So the big twist that they don't show us, M. Night Shyamalan version, is that she's not a cop at all. It's actually a sequel of The Purge, and this is just one woman's story.
That's why she's practicing that little speech over and over, because if someone asks.
Yeah, so she's got to be prepared to read Miranda rights.
Well, it's so funny because in the original, she does repeat something like that to calm herself down, but they don't show her studying it. They don't focus on it quite as much. And to the locker and why it's locked, I guess I didn't think of this as a time, but was it locked because the evidence box was put in there after the fact, and that's what they were hiding in there under the thing?
But who?
Well, first of all, there's who. And second of all, why would you put it under there if you're going to lock the damn thing anyway?
Right. So, no,
But the dad couldn't have, unless the dad put it there before his rampage?
I think that's the implication, is that he it haunted him. It was something that was stuck with him. like, because I mean, his rampage happens a year after the event at the cult took place.
No.
It wasn't like he got because
Was?
the dude, like, there's already news articles written about it and whatnot hanging in his locker, and
Yeah.
that other cop is like, 1 year ago today, man, like, this dude here is a hero, like, celebrating
Yeah.
what his achievement was, and then a year later
Okay,
he did
yeah.
that thing. So I think he was so obsessed with the case that he kept the files, and since he probably wasn't supposed to do that, had stored them underneath
That makes sense.
the locker.
That
But
makes
that
sense.
goes back to further, why the fuck was it locked?
Wait a minute. We got a bigger issue here. He shut up the station a year after.
Yeah.
So this movie takes place 2 years after.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the original took place 1 year after because there was no dad scenario like that.
Because I watched this movie thinking that they saved those girls and that newspaper clipping was new, like, a week later, because it just happened. And I thought that's when he killed
I don't
everybody.
think so. I'm pretty sure his was on the 1 year event, and then this is the 2 year event. I could be wrong about that, but I'm like 90% certain that was
Okay.
right.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't
know.
change anything.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Brian is skimming it right now.
I'm only on IMDb and it doesn't have that.
Oh, okay. I figure you're just skimming through the movie right now.
Geez, no, I don't want my shit to crash. Last time I tried that didn't end well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. It doesn't really have any significant impact on, the movie either way, but I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Yeah.
I'm not going to find out. But.
Yeah. I mean, it does help make sense of all those files and clippings and stuff, being that he's been hiding them there for a while, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that was nitpicky. Again, we noted the differences, and I think this, again, it was a writing thing. Jessica just didn't ask the right questions. They didn't make her look. She was so by the book, supposed to be so intelligent, but she wasn't questioning like her own reality, or like when Price and Hudson were there, and then shit happens. She gets knocked out and like comes to. She does not once like go looking for them or call their names or ask where they are or like what happened. Not like, oh, that didn't happen. They're just gonna move on. It's like two other cops that could have been pretty handy right now if they were actually alive, which they're not. Yeah, it was the little things like that, and again, like the explanation of why are we here. So I know I said I personally would have liked a little more reason as to why this was all happening. I feel like that last scene of her in the throne and then coming to was completely uncalled for. And I think it would have been better to end on Malum just creepily smiling into the camera as he was right before that scene and then just cut to black. Because, like, again, there was enough ambiguity as it was, and now I don't know what that means. That she's on a seat next to Malum and alive, or they're both dead and now they're in thrones and, to the low god. Like, what was the point of that? It wasn't even creepy enough to be a last jump scare. So you're like zoomed out and she's sitting in the corner and she just like sits up suddenly. Mm-hmm. So like, why?
Yeah. Yeah. The ending was very confusing. And like the order of it, like I was saying earlier, like, she should have killed herself first and then finally the low god shows up or something.
Right. Or was that even the low god, or was that some demon? Like, you assume it's the low god, but we didn't see a picture of him. He has that symbol that's essentially just a pentagram with like a cone under it. Yeah. Which he could have done a little better with that, but minor detail.
I kind of
it's easy. It
was reminiscent.
It's easy enough to graffiti.
Yeah, it was reminiscent to me of like maybe like a goat's face with like either the horns or the ears coming off the side a little bit, or it looks like a freaking snow cone with a pentagram as the ice
I was gonna say
cream.
a demon snow
Yeah.
cone.
The version of it that was drawn on the target practice thing, the way the like horns swoops come off the side, being with the pentagram lined up over the head, just looks like somebody drew like women's hair down the edge. It's like a pentagram with a beard and then some hair. Like go find a picture of that. I'm pretty sure it's on IMDb, and it just looks like somebody drew hair on it.
That's incredible.
That's funny. All right. Well,
Oh, yeah, it's actually the first photo.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
There you go.
it does look like hair. Yep, can't unsee that now.
Mm-hmm.
all right. Well, let's move on to handing out some merit badges. If you're new around
right.
these parts, we hand out merit badges for things we thought films did well. If you're watching the video version, they have now popped up on the bottom of the screen, the full list of badges we have. So yeah, let's start handing some out. I'll go first and say special effects.
Yeah.
Low hanging fruit,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, the special effects are great.
hmm
I'm gonna give it blood and gore
Yep.
too, like for sure.
Yeah, those solid.
Fucking fingers, man. Fingers got me this time.
Fingers near the
Near
throat,
the
though.
throat, yeah.
But the throat thing didn't bother me because they fully removed the head, so it was fine. It's just when you cut it open and let it do its thing.
Yeah.
When you just remove it entirely, it's totally fine. I don't make.
We're
the
learning
rules.
so much about Nick.
Decapitations, okay. Throat slitting from inside or out, as we learned last week, not okay.
No good. No good.
Excuse me. How about you, Brad?
Because I mentioned it before, I would go with cinematography.
Not giving it lore.
No,
Too much lore.
I'm not quite the lore police you are, but yeah, that's the opposite problem this time. There's too much lore.
It's too much.
There's too much story. There's too much lore,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and also not enough lore.
Yeah. Right.
I wrote down like dread with a question mark because it, in the sense of like, not knowing, she doesn't know what's real and everything, but then, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
They were
that one's borderline for me.
Yeah, I think
I feel like the first version would have earned dread.
absolutely, and that's what I was saying that before. I think the first version did it. This version tried to, especially in the first half or the first half of the station, but it didn't accomplish it for me.
Okay.
Now, Brian, you did admit that you actually jumped, which is something you don't do.
I
So I
did.
feel like you should give this scares.
No. I will say the hanging.
But you don't jump. You're the most jaded person I know to horror movies.
I didn't see the hanging one coming. That's usually why I can usually sense it coming. That one
Yeah.
came out of nowhere.
And also the person getting their head blown off at the shooting range.
I did not jump at that, but that did surprise me.
Yeah, that surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah, you're the jumpiest person I know.
I know. I didn't jump at either of them. Well, I mean, so I did the rare thing of I watched the trailer for this one, which we all know I don't do. And that scene, the three hanging bodies is in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch the trailer because I remembered Last Shift enough that I didn't need to.
Right.
Yeah.
We were trying to determine if this was one that Val was going to watch with me or not. So we watched the trailer together. We leaned on not, for the record.
Okay.
Probably a good move.
But yeah.
Any others?
I think I'm good.
Do
Yeah,
we
good.
want to consider the sequel one and remake sequel?
I don't think it was successful, so no.
Okay. I mean,
From
yeah,
me, 2 out of 3
I
wins.
think the argument can be made both ways in that it was successful in that it was the things that were done well about it were done better. It was gorier. It was more graphic. It was like everything was ramped up. Unfortunately, they ramped up the lore to a point where it didn't really make a lot of sense anymore in certain spots. But from a like, the filming was great. The cinematography was great. The effects were better. Like, I would consider that all to be successful. However, the end result, plot wise, may have suffered a little bit as a result. So, like, I don't know. I feel like that argument goes both ways. It could be either.
Yeah.
So I would consider it, but I'm not like hell bent on it has to.
Yeah. And I'm not going to chime in because I really don't remember the first film. So
okay.
Just wanted to throw it out there. Just
so
in
no.
case.
Yeah. Also, it's a remake. It's not a sequel. So
that is true.
That can be our reasoning.
That could be another badge. Add that to your badge list.
Yeah.
Successful remake.
Yeah, because there's enough of those. That
reboot remake badge for sure.
Yeah.
It is interesting that like I didn't see anywhere.
I'll put a little recycle can on
it. Yes.
Yes. Some blood coming out the top of it. I didn't see anywhere. Like I figured it'd be in the IMDb trivia or an interview with the director. Like,
why
remake it 9 years later? He didn't change that much, and it's not like Last Shift was a bad movie. You know, like it's not like Evil Dead to Evil Dead 2. Sort of like, well, this didn't come out like we wanted it to. Let's just lean harder in a different direction. Like it didn't have that same vibe to it. That I don't really know why it was remade that short of a period of time after. Like usually when you see a remake for an American market, it's because it wasn't an American film and it had subtitles or the budget was, $1,500 and free pizza or something. And this was none of that. And it was an American movie. So it was weird to see 9 years later having it be remade. But
yeah,
I couldn't find a "this is why" sort of answer. I still am curious to try to figure that out.
Well, if you know why, leave the answer in the comments below.
I see what you did there, and I like it.
All right, so Malum is going to walk away with merit badges for special effects, blood and gore, and cinematography. Excellent. Well, again, thank you all for checking out the episode. Again, you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/@horrorscouts, or just find us on your favorite podcast service. If you want to listen to the audio version, just search for Horror Scouts. Either way, reach out to us, leave a comment in the video on YouTube, or send us a tweet. We're on Instagram and Twitter at @horror_scouts. Very curious to see what everyone else thinks about the movie. And
don't forget the Discord.
Yes, there's links to the Discord available, so you can chat with us there about anything horror related you want. Check out the full list of trailers, because my co-hosts don't do it, so it's got to be for somebody. And rate and review, especially on YouTube. If you like this, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. You can click the bell if you want to get an alert anytime we put out a new episode. You know how it works. That'll do it. Thanks again for joining us, gentlemen. Thank you for joining me as always.
Of course.
And we'll see everybody next time. See ya.